Hey, so this is my Minecraft calculator. I wanted to show it off here. So let's do 8 plus 9. See the little numbers there. Bunch of shit's happening back here. I'll explain all this shit in a second. But we had 8 plus 9. It should be 17, I hope. Please. Please be 17. Okay, great. So, pretty simple. I know it's only like 1 digit by 1 digit, but I still think it's pretty cool. I'm gonna do 17 real quick, and I'm gonna try to explain how this works. First I'll start in like the abstract, and then we'll go into like each component, but let's just make sure this output's 15 because I still don't trust this thing. It usually works. Actually, it works every time, but it's a bit janky. So there's a few basic components to it. There's the input system here, which is what all this is. Most of this is actually unnecessary. It looks a lot more complicated than it needed to be. But we click a button here, and it sends out an output signal. So if I were to click a different number, a different line would be lit up. But what did I click here? I don't even remember. I clicked 9 here because that's the binary representation for 9. So from the input system, you have a signal coming out here, and that goes into what I call the signal to binary converter. This will generate a binary signal for whichever number I clicked here. In this case it's 9 because in binary we have 1, 2, 4, 8. This is 8, add to 1, that's 9. So you can see the output of the binary right here. This is one side, and then this one here is another side. It's the exact same on the other side here for the other output. And so we're adding 9 to 6, and that goes into the binary adder here, which is what this is. And then you see you have the binary output up there. From there, we take that binary output and we put it through the binary to signal converter, which is like the inverse of what we did there, turning the signal into binary. Now we turn the binary into a signal, which you'll see here. It sets out a line, and this goes into the display driver. And this is a fucking mess, but it is a display driver. And then each one of these lines you see coming out of here, and there's a lot of lines, each one that's lit up is going to be a lit up pixel on the output, which is why there's so many lines here. This here is the output. So you'll see we want this pixel lit up, goes into the piston, pistons extend all the way to the output. Cool. I'll try to explain it in more detail. I don't know how good of a job I'll do, but I'll do my best. So first off, the first components that I made for this were the input and output, and I sort of just did everything afterwards, which caused a lot of headaches, but it worked. One of the things that's like weird is that it's actually like surprisingly difficult to either send or receive data or like redstone signals from a flat grid, and that's sort of hard to explain honestly why, but when you try to send it or receive it, it tends to interfere with its neighbors. And so this is like the mechanism that I used to, hold on, let me reset this. This just takes all the data out, and I'll explain how that works in a second. But the method I came up with was just doing this, and you'll see it pushes the redstone all the way to the end, and then it lights this guy up. It looks like unnecessarily long, and I'm sure there are better ways to do that, but this is just a foolproof way I figured out. And it's a lot more necessary for shit like this because, you know, I'll show you this is the first version of it I made, and it might help illustrate why it ends up being so long. I finished this side more here. So you'll see here, like, it starts off pretty simple, but then you need more room, and then you need more room, and when you're stacking them on top of each other, it gets, like, they start interfering not only with their neighbors, but, like, their vertical neighbors. And so that's how we ended up with this. Don't question it. But basically what happens is you'll, I'm going to reset this again. So you'll push a button, let's say this one here. It extends the pistons out temporarily, and it eventually sends redstone into the bud switch. So you'll see there, when I press the button, it extends and then retracts, right? Because, oh my god, hold on. It always rains in this world, I don't know why. So it sends a pulse, a redstone pulse, again just like that, and then it goes away. And if you'll notice from earlier, we need the signal to like stay there. We can't just have the signal pulse. So there's this device in Minecraft called a bud switch, and that will just basically turn a button into a lever. So what happens is, where's the, okay, so the item's here right now. If we were to send redstone in here, the item flows up here, into here, and then into here. And when there's an item in here, this comparator will send power to this block here. Whereas if we press it again, the item now goes into here, and the comparator is no longer on. So that's the bud switch. Basically just turns a pulse into a steady signal, which is cool. And then honestly, the rest of this bullshit you can just ignore. I'll explain it, but that's really all you need to generate the signal. The rest of this bullshit is the two like unnecessary components, the clear and these lights. So these lights signal whether or not we have data like already written in. So everything's cleared right now. If I push this, this will let us know like, hey, you've already like input a number on this side. So how does that work? Well, you can see here, this is the signal that I activated, and you see, signal goes out there, cool. But to get that light on at the top, what I did was I put redstone torches on top of all of these blocks, and then this line here will light up and send signal to this piston, which turns on the light. So if any of these lights are on, even if we only have one, or if all of them are on, doesn't matter, this redstone rail here will get power and turn on the lamp, which is cool. Now the other bullshit feature that I put in was a clear button. You see that like middle button over there that I clicked? I'll click it again actually because I need to clear it. I just like it being cleared, sort of like an OCD thing. So that'll clear all the data. And fuck, I actually should have shown. So when I click the button, redstone goes out to all of them. So why? What's happening here? Well, fuck, I have to click. Hold on. I'm going to turn this guy on to demonstrate. So pretend I just hit that button there. You'll see this is now outputting signal. Cool. This is turning that light on. Cool. So how does the clear thing work? So we have here an AND gate. An AND gate is like, you can think of it as a machine. When redstone is going into both sides of it, it'll turn on, but if only one side is getting redstone or neither side is getting redstone, it'll stay off. So one side is being activated because the signal's on, and the other side will be activated once I press the clear button. So hopefully we can catch it in time. Yeah, you see here? Went off. That's because without this, like imagine if I just cleared the, if I just pressed the clear button and it sent a signal back to the start here, then it would literally turn all the ones that are off on and all the ones that are on off, which isn't really a clear. So when I click that button, I want to send a pulse to the beginning of each of these, but only if they're on, which is what the AND gate does. And I haven't explained this yet either, but the output for the AND gate here just follows a line and ends up going back in to here. So it basically just functions the same as if I do that or if I press the button. So that's the input system. Hopefully that made sense. I'm gonna check if I'm still recording because I don't want to talk to myself for half an hour. Okay, I am still recording. Good. So now we explain the input system. Fuck off. Now I'm going to show you the signal to binary converter. So this one's a lot simpler in the input system. Basically, the signal comes into these pistons. It's all 4 pistons every time, but I only put redstone blocks on the corresponding binary. So like, what number is this? 1, 2, 4, 6, 7. So this is 7. It's honestly like, I don't even know how to explain it better than just looking at it. Should make sense if you understand binary. But all of these, like, because here, I guess this might help a little bit, right? So you see they all go down, none of this redstone gets powered, but when it gets power, redstone blocks go up. And then all of these send their data to these, what I call rails, which to me just means like no matter where they're getting power along the rail, they'll still light up. So if we, for some reason, have 2 binary, or like 2 signals going into there, and then 2 binaries getting generated, they'll both just go in, which gets messy. And I probably should have made like some sort of error system that will like output error on the display. You'll see here we have 2 going in, and so that just ends up lighting up all of them, which like means it is broken. But the solution to that is just not putting in 2 different numbers. Pretty easy. I'm gonna set up 9 plus 9 right now just to explain further. So you'll see here I have these, did my 9 plus 9 work? What the fuck are you doing? Fuck. It's probably because I didn't, or like I clicked 9 while it was still resetting. That's my excuse. But you'll see here, these lamps are just like visual for debugging and for you guys to understand what's going on. This is the adder output. So you can see here we're adding 9. It's a binary representation of 9 plus 9. These are both going into the adder. So we follow this, the first digit's binary signal goes in here, second goes in here. And so how does a binary adder work? This was a headache to figure out because I didn't like Google it. I probably should have, but it was an exercise in computer architecture, so I wanted to see if I could figure it out, and I eventually did. So I guess to first explain this, if you guys have ever done like just normal addition before, you'll know that a big part of it, like let's say you add 15 plus 15 and you're doing like the where you're like writing it out and doing it all like long form. I don't know what it's called, but basically if you do 15 plus 15, first you add 5 plus 5, and then you end up with 0 in that spot, but you need to carry the 1 over, right? So similar, almost the same thing happens in binary, and the only reason I explain that is to explain that when you're adding the first 2 digits together, it's a lot simpler than the rest of them, because you don't have to worry about accepting a carryover from the digit before it, right? Because there's not going to be any numbers carried over to the first one because it's the first one. So for the first one, it's pretty simple here. You have what's called an XOR gate, and then you also have an AND gate for the carry. Now what the fuck does that mean? Well, an XOR is a logic gate that has 2 inputs. You'll see them both clearly going in there. In this case, they're both on. So you could like imagine that as 1 plus 1. It's just like adding 5 plus 5 together, in that if you add 1 plus 1 together, the output's 0, which you can see here, like the output's not on. That's because the signal needs to get carried over. But sorry, the XOR, so the XOR gate, if neither of the inputs are active, it'll be deactivated. If both of the inputs are active, it'll be deactivated. However, if only one of the inputs is active, it'll be active, and I'll show you that right now. You see, that one's active, this one I just broke, and so it's on, but if both of them are on, this will be off. However, this AND gate here is what handles the carry signal. So if both of these are on, the XOR output will be off. But if both of them are on, we need to know that we need to carry that data over to the next adder. I'm not sure if that made sense, but the logic behind it is that if 0 plus 0 get added together, the output's 0, and we don't need to carry anything over. If it's 1 and 0, the output here is going to be 1, and we don't need to carry anything over. If both of them are 1 or active, then the output needs to be 0, but we need to carry that over to the next one. And so this is the next one here. You'll see we get the second digit here. And so luckily the second digit are both off, which is cool. But how all of these work, other than the first one, is we have two XOR gates. And why? Well, the first XOR gate needs to compare the two digits, right? And then the output of the first XOR gate gets put into the second XOR gate. And the second XOR gate compares the output of the first XOR gate with the carry signal from the first digit adder there. So you'll see here, and I know it's a bit confusing, I'm trying my best. For this, you see the second digit there is off, and the second digit there is off. And so for the first XOR gate, it's getting no signal from either, right? 0 and 0, that output's 0. You don't get anything here. But then, in the second XOR gate, we're getting a signal from the previous carry. That AND gate there, it's carrying the number over to the second digit. And so this XOR gate is getting one negative and one positive. And again, that's really the only situation in which an XOR gate actually outputs power, is if only one of its inputs is on. And so that's the case here. And so that 1 from this, that ended up being a 0, the 1 gets carried over, and now even though this is 0 plus 0, we are considering the carry signal, and this outputs a 1 for the second digit. And let's see here how you see that. So the first one, even though both of them are on, now it's off, but for the second one, it carried over successfully, thankfully. And so that's basically just what it is for the rest of the adders. You have the data going in. Again, remember over here, the third one is also off on both of them. So off and off into this XOR, two offs on an XOR, output off, and there is no carries. So for over here, I forgot to explain, there's two AND gates here. An AND gate for the first XOR inputs, and an AND gate for the second XOR inputs. And due to some logic or something, both of these can't be on, because if this one turns on, that means that both of these are active, and XORs don't output an active signal if both of its inputs are active, and so that makes this AND gate impossible to turn on. So only one of these AND gates will turn on, but it's possible that either could turn on to carry the signal over here. But yeah, these are the rest of them are just double XORs. First XOR checks the digits, second XOR checks the output of the first XOR with the previous one's carryover signal. And that's how it works all the way to the end. You'll see here we have a fifth binary digit, right? That's because you need a fifth digit to represent 17 and 18, and although those aren't valid inputs, they are valid outputs for stuff like 9 plus 8 or 9 plus 9. So what we do here for the fifth digit is we just have our AND gates here, remember from the carryovers, and if we need to carry over, then it just lights up the fifth one, because we don't need to do any math there. So if there's a carryover signal, and I mean that makes sense that there's a carryover signal, right? Because for the what was this? This was 9. So for 9, this is active, and we added 9 to it, so this is active here. The output makes sense to be 0, right? Because that's how XORs work. If you put an active, add to an active, the output of that is inactive, or like not on, but you carry over to the fifth digit, and yeah, so the carryover literally just turns this on without any other math. Relatively simple. Now we're on to the binary to signal converter. This was like logically simpler. Took a lot of blocks though, so it was frustrating. But I think it's relatively simple. It might confuse you, hopefully not. But basically what you do is So you know what, let's actually fly to the one that's active. Hopefully this will make it easier, and of course it's all the way at the end. Hopefully this will make it easier to explain. But essentially, so this probably won't make sense to most of you, but the way that you do it is you use recursive AND gates, and then on the final AND gate you invert all the ones in which you need to be disabled and throw that into an AND gate, which most likely won't make sense to you. So let's explain what that actually means. So for the signal to be 18 here, we need both of these to be on and the rest of them to be off. So I'll demonstrate here. I turn that on, that's no longer valid, right? If I were to turn this off, no longer valid. So it needs these two to be on and these three to be off, and that's the only way in which it'll send a signal out there. So how do we do that? Ignore everything this way. It starts here. So this is the whole logic thing right here. So first off, what we do, so we only need two of them to be active, right? And so we use an AND gate for that. We get the signal from the both that needs to be active, and we say, okay, if both of these are active, then output here. Great. So we have this output because both of them are on, which is what we've checked, but now we need to check that all of the other ones are off. So how do you do that? Well, you take all of them into, you just combine all the signals, because if any of them are on, it's bad. It doesn't matter how many are on, really. If any of them are on, it's bad. And then we put them into an inverter here. So this turns it on and feeds into the second AND gate here, right? So our first input to the AND gate is because both of these that we need on are on, and the second input into the AND gate is that all of these are off, and so it's on. Which might be a little confusing, but let me show you. So let's pretend either of them are on. Well, this inverts and now it's off, and so we only have one active input into the AND gate. The other AND gate side is not active because one of these is on, and that's why the inversion's used. It was pretty smart. I came up with that. I liked it. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Maybe I'll try to go over another one right here. So what does this one need? Oh god, I don't even really feel like figuring this out. Did I even do this properly? What the heck? This doesn't go anywhere. I'm sure that works. What? What did I do? Okay, never mind. That's how it works. Super easy, super simple. Definitely not confused by it. But yeah, no, so like I'll try to go over it again. So like if let's say you have 4 things that need to be on and only one needs to be off, then you just keep doing AND loops. You AND loop like 2 of them, and then let's say you AND loop another 2 of them, then you take those outputs and you put that into another AND loop just to check that all of them are on, and then once you've checked that all of them that need to be on are on, then you take a signal from all the ones that you need to be off, invert it, and put that into an AND gate, and then you take the output of that AND gate and you throw it along the signal. So that successfully, hopefully, converted your binary into a signal here, which we will follow, and there we go. So this is surprisingly simple compared to all that nonsense. This is basically just so how do I explain this? Remember before I mentioned like a rail, basically just like a line of redstone that no matter what's underneath it or where underneath it is, as long as it is underneath it, it'll light it up, right? So these are a bunch of rails. Each rail here is a pixel on the output display, and so you'll see here, and it's actually sort of oriented this way, but this is the above me here, this is the first pixel on the, what is it, the bottom right. So it's like the most bottom right pixel, and then it goes left one, left another one, left another one, left another one, and so it has 5 in each like box. And then we go to this one, and this is the second bottom row all the way on the right hand side, and that's the second pixel on the, it would be the 4th from the top. It'd be the 4th from the top row. So this is the 5th from the top row. Every 5 you go up another row. So this would be the almost in the middle. Oh my god, you see it rains all the time. Oh my god. Okay. So yeah, this would be the middle of, I think, the fourth row on the right, and then this is the first pixel on the third row on the right, and it just keeps going up and up. As you'll see here, so you see this area, how there's nothing up there. That's because everything that way is the first. So like, if you'll think of it like, imagine the displays, that's like the first digit, and then this is the second digit. So for most of the numbers being output, we actually don't need the first digit, because it's like under 10, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those don't need a first digit. They only need one digit. So that's why all of them are like done here, and that's why only some of them are done here. And you'll also notice that all of these here are the same because they only need to make the number 1. The output doesn't need a number 2 because the biggest output you can get is 18, which is 9 plus 9, which means that you only need 1s here. And so these are just representations of characters, I guess you could say. Like, let me try to find 6. This is 6 here because I kept losing track of them. And you'll see here on the bottom row, the 3 middle ones are active, and then it just takes 2 that aren't active. And then we have 1 empty 1, which sort of starts making the loop on the bottom of a 6. Should be self-explanatory. Like, I don't think that's complicated. And this was a nightmare to build this. Probably, like, that was the worst part, surprisingly. Like, I know the binary adder or the binary to signal converters seem complicated, and they're definitely more complex, but that's sort of like the fun part. This was just hell. Making, oh god, only it was like 50 wires. And the fun part too is that I planned this so horribly that I ended up having to go underground for some of them because there just wasn't enough room. And you'll see how horrible it gets up here. Like, I need to go underground here. It's really messy because I almost interfered with the input. So you'll see this one here is for the input, and it outputs a signal, and then this is for the the display. And so yeah, all of these are underground here. Some of these loop all the way around. It was hell. But I guess the last component to explain is the output. So again, if you'll remember here, we use like a line of pistons to send data backwards. We do the same thing here, but in reverse, to send data forwards. So you'll see that travels and it lights up. I almost lost the redstone block. Okay, so yeah, all the ones that I want to be on get sent in, and you'll see the terrible mess of repeaters down there. That's most of why it's so slow. There's so many repeaters in the input and the output system. Really slow it down. I could have gotten around that, but wasn't going for spatial efficiency or speed. I just wanted to make something that worked, and so I guess I can put that on, demonstrate. So yeah, this I know it looks ridiculous how long it is, but this was the way that it worked, and I didn't want to spend a couple hours trying to figure out how to compact it. But it all works, albeit quite slowly. So that's basically it. I don't think there's anything else to explain. I'll show it off one more time though. So you'll see here, there's a cool effect to it, especially the right digit, and it's like, I don't know why, but you'll see like some of the pixels sort of flash, like even pixels that aren't supposed to be lit up, like, right, you had some like it's quite the aesthetic in my opinion. You might call it a bug, but I call it an aesthetic feature. And it's especially present when when it's showing up. Like, you'll see just like random lights will pop on, and every time I get terrified that it's going to end up showing the wrong number. But no, it figures itself out. And then for some reason that I have no idea, the left digit here is always so quick, and the right digit's just like an anxiety attack. So that's fun. That's my redstone calculator. I don't really know what else to show off or explain. But it was fun. It took me about a week, but I want to say like maybe 8 hours total. I would work on it for a few hours and I'd take a few days off, and it was a really fulfilling project. It was an exercise in like computer architecture, just to see if I could figure out how it all works, because I used to be really into computer architecture and I'm not so much anymore. But one day I was just like, I wonder if I could make a calculator in Minecraft without like just watching a tutorial on how to make a Minecraft calculator. So I did it, and I guess I'll just, so again, I already showed this off, but 1 plus 8 is 9. Did the same over here, and then that shows us our adder output, which is honestly like everything else is just an aesthetic thing. This is really all you need for it to be technically a calculator, because I have a binary and that's the result of adding it with that binary. So everything else was just a huge waste of time. But it was fun nonetheless. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. Goodbye.